Hello there. I am Samantha Davidson, and I did my internship as a research assistant for the National Healthy Marriage Institute, and my focus was on creating and facilitating a willpower workshop. So, where did I start? I actually started with searching through presentations like this one, and that's how I heard about online internships, was through a prior student's presentation. So be sure to listen with the future in mind, because as you listen to these, you can really find different opportunities that might fit what you would be interested in, and just listen to the different pros and cons. Originally, I contacted with Aaron Larson and expected to have an opportunity to work for the DeVol Institute. I contacted him about a year before, and then and I contacted him sooner. Both of the positions had been filled, but he had an opportunity, or had the opportunity to work for the National Healthy Marriage Institute, or NHMI. So I looked at that and a little bit more about the National Healthy Marriage Institute. It is a business created by Aaron Larson, and the idea is that it can help strengthen marriages throughout the country through these workshops that are being created. It's relatively new, so that means that there's lots to do. And so when I first looked at all the different potential job or opportunities for the projects that I could be working on, the options that caught my eye was the physical intimacy workshop and then also the willpower workshop. Both of these were something that I thought I would be really interested working in. I really loved the practicum experience, and I wanted more of that. Just being able to set up workshops and to teach and to facilitate, I really thrived with that. And so I was excited to find an internship opportunity that kind of expounded more on that practicum experience that I had. I ended up narrowing down my focus to just specifically the willpower workshop, just because there's so much to do with both of them that I felt it would be most beneficial. I could contribute more if I just focused on one of them. In the beginning, I didn't really have much previous knowledge about willpower and motivation. So my supervisor directed me to this book. It's based, and the entire workshop is actually based on Kelly McGonigal's book called The Willpower Instinct. I really loved this book because it really took her research and then made it applicable. In fact, all of her sources are cited at the end of the book, and so you can even go in yourself and read those sources and just make sure that what she's sharing is actually what the research was finding, and I really appreciated that. I also like that this book explains the why. So we all know that it's important to eat right and to get enough sleep and to exercise and to meditate. Those things are all good. This explains why, how the body really functions, how the brain functions, and how these four things really help you to achieve your goals. Now, with this book, those four aspects are only a small part about what Kelly McGonigal writes about in this book. So she also talks about like variability and just what willpower is and how the brain works and different hormones and things like that. So if that's something that you find interesting, I really recommend this book. I thought it was a fascinating read. As far as my responsibilities go, they were very diverse, and I loved that because then I had the chance to gain experience in many different ways that previously I had not even considered as or foreseen as going to be a part of my internship. The first, like I said, I read materials. This included the sources that were in the back of the book just to verify, and then also other research-based materials. And I also read her newer book called The Upside of Stress that came out this last year. It was how originally in her Willpower Instinct book, she talks about how stress can be damaging and how it really is not helpful for you to achieve your goals. A lot of people think that, if you have more stress, then things are going to get done, like that deadline that's coming up. But she talks about how stress can actually undermine your willpower. But then she came out with this book, and she was reading a lot more studies about upset of stress and looking into that research, and was able to find about how we have different responses to stress and how not all of them are negative. And so it's important to understand the negative and the positive responses to stress. And so I felt like that was crucial to add to the workshop, especially because stress management was one of the things that we were teaching. I also outlined and created lesson plans. There was 5 in total that I ended up with. There was 5 different sessions. I also did some graphic design. I made workbook pages that went along with each of the sessions so that participants had something to take notes and write on during the session, and then throughout the week they had something or a place to write their thoughts as they paid attention to their willpower challenge and their goals that they had set. I also created some flyers and helped with other projects, which was really fascinating because then I could kind of get a little peek into what other interns were working on as well. I also worked with brainstorming for titles and figuring out logistics, just as far as setting up the workshop, how we were going to do it, how we were going to facilitate it, future things for interns, those sorts of stuff. And I also was able to facilitate beta testing of the workshop, which was what I wanted to do in the very beginning. So I'm really glad that was able to occur. It first started as a one-on-one basis with one individual, and then after that, I gained a lot of feedback and was able to branch out into a small group of 5 participants, and that gave even more great feedback that I was able to use to improve the workshop further. So what I brought to the table, I have this little thing on the bottom. It says, work hard, have fun, and make a difference. I feel like it's really crucial to be able to work hard if you're going to make a difference, but also to have fun. Because if you're able to find things that you enjoy with what you're working on, whatever that may be, or however pleasant or unpleasant it might be, you're really able to create something that expresses that passion that you have. So going back to what I brought to the table, I am very particular about following current research. I touched on this a little bit earlier, but this is something that I'm a stickler about, is that it's important to not just share good ideas or things that might have worked for somebody, but to share things that are beneficial and that have been studied thoroughly. And obviously research changes, but it's very important to do the best you can with that. And so that's something that I feel like I was able to bring was that. And then also being self-motivated and innovative was crucial for this internship, because a lot of it was just based on me being able to be given the big picture and then run with it and see all the details. I was comfortable in asking questions if there was things that I needed help with, but after I had already exhausted all of my resources. And I think that's really important, is that you try to learn and to solve those problems by yourself first, before you seek help. So I also brought prior workshop experience through the practicum. I had already had some of that experience, and so I was able to bring that and to expound upon that. And then I also brought a passion for facilitating and sharing knowledge. That's something that I really love, is to be able to learn and understand how it applies and how it can benefit people, and then to spread that. That's a passion of mine. So what I left with, definitely greater confidence in my abilities. I had never done much with graphic design. I created like a graduation card or PowerPoints, and that was about it. And so that experience was really something that pushed me to stretch, and that was wonderful. I also grew through the facilitating experiences, because no 2 experiences are alike, and you always have to be on your feet when you're facilitating, because the discussion always will change and it never turns out exactly how you expect. So I really loved that I was able to grow in that way. I also increased understanding through current research. Like I said, I learned a ton about motivation, how the body expends energy, brain functioning, and the different hormones, beneficial and damaging stress responses, and the difference between those. But the biggest benefit came through the self-evaluations. And I wanted to take a little bit of time on this, because really when it comes to these self-evaluations that we do weekly, it can be beneficial or drudgery. Now, when I went into the internship opportunity when I first started, it was drudgery for me because I was expecting 160 hours minimum, maybe a couple more hours, depending on whatever project I was working on, and then done. But it's not quite that cut and dry. You also have weekly self-reflections that you turn in, and there's different, like this project that you'll be doing at the end of your internship, and then a final paper and other things. And so at first, it seemed a little bit like just that other thing that I had to add to my checklist. So choose the beneficial, because I was very blessed with the professor that I had. She really encouraged me to dig a little deeper, and as I did, I was able to learn a lot more about me, and the self-evaluations increased with their meaning. They become something that I hold precious now. There was some deep self-reflection, and sometimes that was painful, but it reminded me of this quote by President Uchtdorf, when he said, "Often we try to avoid looking deeply into our souls and confronting our weaknesses, limitations, and fears. But being able to see ourselves clearly is essential to our spiritual growth and well-being. If our weaknesses and shortcomings remain obscured in the shadows, then the redeeming power of the Savior cannot heal them and make them strengths. Ironically, our blindness towards our human weaknesses will also make us blind to the divine potential that our Father yearns to nurture within each of us." And this was from his talk, "Lord is the Eye," and it just kind of struck home these past couple weeks, because it's true. If we aren't looking at ourselves, or if we avoid looking at ourselves and having those self-evaluations being meaningful, then we really are not allowing ourselves to acknowledge our weaknesses and limitations and our fears. And by doing so, we also are putting a blind side onto our potential. And so I would just really encourage you to seek to have that be a beneficial experience through looking at your week. And that's, I guess, my advice with that. I was mostly prepared through my practicum. I think that was the most helpful course prior to this internship. At first, I was overwhelmed and confused with the purpose of the practicum. I thought that it should replace the internship, not accompany it, just because there's so much. But it really prepared me through the experience of creating that workshop, because it gave me a solid foundation to build on. And if you haven't taken the practicum yet, really take it seriously, because everything that you learn is really setting the stage for future work that you will be doing. So would I recommend this for future students? I think that really depends on you. It's extremely flexible, which is great if your schedule is a little hectic, or like for me, I'm a stay-at-home mom, so that made the internship possible. But it's also a con in the way that you really have to set up a lot of the structure yourself. I would really recommend Chip to begin with, instead of them being talk with your supervisor first thing, because then you're really able to have just laid out and have that content, and that's what you're working for. This was really self-driven and based on the big picture. My supervisor gave me the reins afterwards. He was like, "This is kind of what I imagine. Go for it." So if that's something that you can do, and that's something that you thrive with, then this would be a really good internship for you. There are different schedules. My supervisor was working a normal week like a 5 day week, and for me, Saturdays and holidays are usually when I get most of my work done. So not being able to really get in contact with my supervisor if something came up and I had a question or anything like that, that was a little bit unexpected. So that's just something to keep in mind. And then also, unfortunately, with an online internship, there is not a lot of interaction with others. I mean, there was with the workshops and then with your supervisor, but not with other interns or other staff members, I guess. um, so if that's something that you really want in your internship experience, then maybe an online experience is good for you. And then I really felt encouraged throughout this experience, and I really appreciate that my supervisor really utilizes the intern's strengths and interests, and that plays a role in what you will be doing. Um, so if this sounds like, oh, and there's potential to earn through commission if you advertise. So if this sounds like something that you're interested in, contact Erin Larson at this email address. And I wish you the best of luck.